You are listening to a One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. So kick back, relax, and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host a One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you're listening. This episode of a One Pint Stand is brought to you by Lupulin Brewing, home of Minnesota's favorite hazy IPA, Hooey. Known for world-class IPAs, their craft shines across every style. The award-winning Dortmunder Lager, the coveted Barrel God Imperial Stouts, fruity, balanced sours like Fairies Yes, and the upcoming Squizzle Triple Berry. They also are the creators of Minnesota's favorite THC seltzer, Smazy, proving that whether it's beer or beyond, Lupulin delivers with creativity, consistency, and a whole lot of flavor. On this episode of A One Pint Stand, I have the absolute joy of chatting with the now co-owner of Unmapped Brewing, Derek Allmendinger, and the director of sales, Harry Ledbetter. Derek and Harry are part of a stellar team at Unmapped Brewing. They have played a huge role in ensuring that Unmapped is welcoming to everyone and serving beers of high quality. Their insights about the industry are honest and valuable. I had a lot of fun chatting with them on this episode. We also had a very special cheers at the end of the show to honor Tom Berg, who passed away far too soon. Derek and Harry were nice enough to share some stories about Tom, and we drank some delicious and refreshing Tom's Lager from Falling Knife to shout out Tom, who is so missed in the local craft beer and music scene. So let's head out to Unmapped Brewing in Minnetonka, Minnesota for my beer chat with Derek and Harry. Cheers. Welcome to another on-location episode of A One Pint Stand. My name is Dan Bobian, and I'm here at... They say you can't come home again, but I'm proving that wrong today. I'm at Unmapped Brewing, and I used to work 5 minutes away from here at Hopkins West Junior High, and now I'm at the high school. I don't get over here as often, but
we've noticed.
Yes, right. My buns are no longer cemented in that one bench over there, so we'll have to obviously had some pretty skilled woodworkers to buff that out. So that's pretty cool. I'm here with some old beer buddies here at Unmapped, and I'm really excited to chat about so many things. But before we start, let's go around the table, say your name, say your brewery role, tell me your favorite Unmapped beer, and then tell me your favorite beer city outside of Minnesota to visit.
All right, I will start. This is Derek Allmendinger. Original head brewer here at Unmapped, and now I am a co-owner. Been here since day one. It has been a while. I'm glad that you're back, because we've had so much fun doing this over the years.
This is the third time.
And the joke I made about not seeing you in a while was just because we love you and we miss you.
Yeah, no, I know.
You're a busy guy just like we are.
Yeah.
My favorite Unmapped beer... It's a boring answer, but I love No Trace. No Trace.
Nothing boring about a beer that is damn near perfect.
Wow, that's high praise. Thank you. Appreciate that. It was the first beer we ever made. I love IPAs. I'm a hoppy guy. What I think is it's still our number one selling beer, and what I've always thought was the reason for that is because it's very well balanced.
Yeah.
It's not West Coast. It's not East Coast. It's not even a Midwest Coast IPA, but it's malty, it's hoppy, not terribly bitter, but very well balanced that you can, drink the whole pint, enjoy it, and order another one. It's a great beer that never gets old.
That's a wonderful description. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think as beer drinkers, we've been conditioned to really start fall in love with the newest thing that comes around. And I think it's like for a beer to have staying power and have such mass appeal, it says something about the quality of it.
So,
and that's exactly what Unmapped has always been about is quality. We've always said that we don't make beer for a living, we sell beer for a living. And there's really two kinds of, beer consumers out there. The person that wants the same exact thing every time, and the person that wants something different every single time. And I can respect both of those, but if you're thinking about the one consumer that wants the same exact thing every time, it better be the same exact thing every time. And if it's not, you're going to lose customers, you're going to lose fans. And that's where loyalty goes out the door, and that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah.
But so I appreciate the kind words that you've said about No Trace. And I think there was another question that I don't
give
remember.
Me your favorite beer.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
so what inspired this question was the random time when we met at the Map Room in Chicago when I was with Jeff and Aaron Ziert from Lupulin on their father-son beer trip. They let me crash that a few times. And then I don't know how we figured out that we were both in the same place, but Jeff was commenting, I guess he'd been trying to connect with you, and funny, we had to come to Chicago to finally meet up. But I think you were in the midst of some type of family vacation, and you had a couple hours that you could get out, and it was sure fun to hang out with you at that bar. That was my first time in Chicago as an adult.
Okay.
So I was quite blown away by all the different things we did, but I love running into those random chance meetings to have a beer with a good friend. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, I'm so glad that you brought that up because I had forgotten about that. Thinking about today's podcast. It was spring break, which ironically today was the first day back to school for my kids. I believe it was 2022.
Yep.
And we decided to go to Chicago for spring break with the whole family, and we had a great time. As families go, we did all the things that you would think to do with your kids in Chicago. And it's just ironic that, coming from a brewery called Unmapped, I had never been to one of these great, this is an institution. This place has been around forever. And it's known for its great selection of craft beer, the Map Room in Chicago. And as any great parent will say, to be a good parent, you need a break. And I saw on social media that, the Zierts from Lupulin and Dan were going to be in Chicago at the same time I was. And I said, honey, can I get a pass for a few hours one evening? And she said, sure, and I caught an Uber out to the Map Room, and we had an amazing time.
Yeah.
But it was funny because you're right. Jeff made that exact point that we had been trying to get together forever, and we had to go all the way to Chicago to get together. But it was a great night, great time. Chicago is a great beer city. I love a lot of the breweries that have come and I don't want to say come and gone, but that are still there.
Yeah.
But, it's a tough call. I love Asheville. I also love Portland, Maine. They're both amazing beer cities, and that takes nothing away from, your Denvers and your Fort Collins and your Portland, Oregon, and all the other great beer cities. But I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably go to Asheville.
Yeah. Asheville is... I didn't quite understand what all the buzz was about until I went there 2 summers ago. My gosh, what a great place. Some of the beer out there. There's some of the bigger breweries that everybody knows about. New Belgium has a place out there.
Yep.
Oscar Blues has a place out there. But then you go to some of these really small, teeny tiny little places that are right next to a creek, and you have some world-class lagers, and you're like, wow, these people have it good out here.
You forgot one, Sierra Nevada.
Yes, well, the airport bar, as everybody refers to it.
That's exactly what I call it, the airport bar.
Yeah.
But I think, to Asheville's credit, these places like Oscar Blues and New Belgium and Sierra Nevada would not have built their East Coast breweries where they did if the culture wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
My very first trip out there was with Jade, the founder of Unmapped Brewing, and she and I went to, I think, 13 breweries in one day. It was probably the smartest day of drinking in my life because we knew what we were in for and we wanted to remember it. So every time we went to a new brewery, we had a half pint and we were looking at ABVs because we didn't want to just get wrecked. We wanted to remember this day, and we did, and we're still talking about that day. But yes, there's tons of small breweries, lager forward, ale forward, sour forward, and then to what you were saying earlier about, the giants that built their second or third brewery out there just says a lot about that area and its commitment to craft beer.
What was your give me your top 3 Asheville breweries if somebody's like making a trip out there. Where are you sending them?
You can never go wrong at Burial. As a former Surly employee, Burial was one of the places that was up high on my list of places to visit first. As far as the 3 big ones, gosh, it's so hard. Sierra Nevada, it felt like a state park, which was amazing. I really liked New Belgium. One of the greatest parts about that trip is we stood in front of a picture of a window of a wonderful beer bar in Belgium. And this was in, I think, early May of 2018, and in late May of 2018, Jade and I were standing in front of the same bar in Bruges.
Oh, cool.
The Bruges Beertje. And that is a memory that I will never forget. One of the top memories ever in my beer life. Let's see, number 3. Gosh, it's so hard to pick. I really liked Green Man.
Yeah,
Green Man, they kind of an institution, been there forever, making good beers. You're never going to go wrong.
They had a porter that was like world class. Like, I think it had won at least 2 GABF awards or something like that. And they kind of had, that was more of a British style. They had more British styles on tap. They had a ESB, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that porter that stays with me to this day.
Yeah, both porter and ESB are styles that I would expect them to do really well.
Yeah. Asheville, man, what a great place.
Oh, yeah.
The Airbnb that I stayed with, it was a retired social worker who had worked in schools, and she kept her horses at the Biltmore. So she's like, if you want to see the Biltmore, I usually go in and say hi to the horses, and then we can drive up the back way. I got this crazy tour of like the grounds of the Biltmore, and it was so cool. It was
awesome.
just amazing.
It's a great story.
Yeah. How about you, sir?
As far as favorite places out of the state,
What's your name first?
Start with your name, title.
I'm Harry Ledbetter. I am Director of Sales, so distribution, getting beer into the hands of anybody who can't quite make it to the tap room. That's my role. So letting everybody know throughout the entire state that we got amazing beer and cool tap room to come back to if you're ever in the area.
Yeah. Sometimes when you ask a person who works at a brewery what their favorite beer is, that's a conundrum. Now, Derek, right away.
For sure.
Boom.
Absolutely.
How about you?
So it's kind of like, and I get asked that question a lot, and it's a tough answer for me because I'm a creature of the seasons and what I'm doing. So if it's Oktoberfest season, I'm going to be drinking Oktoberfest beer. But year-round, I'd say Purgatory Pilsner. I love lagers and Pilsners, and Purgatory Pils is one that I know I can always go to.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's a fishing and golfing beer, and I do a lot of fishing and golfing, so Purgatory Pils. But if it's a seasonal, our Flannel Roots of all the seasons, fall's my favorite season, and it's our fall lager, and it's absolutely wonderful. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean,
we have people that ask us, they go, when's your fall lager? And you go year round. I go, well, when's fall going to be year round? Gotta keep,
According to climate change, I think we're going in the other direction,
right?
But I don't know.
A whole lot more shandies coming out.
You're right.
So yeah, absolutely.
So I know it's crazy to fathom, but I'm sure there are a handful of listeners who are thinking to themselves, I've never been to Unmapped. give me the elevator pitch of why somebody, if they haven't been here, why should they come out here? What can they expect? Kind of what is like every kind of, breweries a lot of times develop an identity over time. And, when I think about Udapils, I think of like classic European styles. When I think of Black Stack, I think of like hoppy.
Absolutely.
And, when I think of like Town Hall, I think classics. That's where when somebody comes to visit, I take them to Town Hall. Because it's like, in my opinion, there's no greater representation of Minnesota's craft beer scene than Town Hall.
Yeah.
How do you describe Unmapped and why, if people haven't been here yet, why should they check it off? Fun fact, you can Google it. It's despite the name.
Yeah. You just led me into my joke.
Sorry.
Unmapped, yeah. If you haven't been here, it's probably because you couldn't find us. No, obviously. Yes, you can Google us. You can find us on the map.
I like that.
Unmapped, from day one, people a lot of times ask us, where did the term Unmapped come from? Our original founders, Jade and Megan Park. Unmapped means go somewhere that you haven't been before, try something new, do something that maybe you were afraid to do before, and get the courage to do it. And that was because Unmapped was built on a foundation of, adventure. Trying something, going somewhere maybe that isn't on the map, and seeing what you find there. Because you never know what you're going to find. The identity of Unmapped, when we first opened, if the original fans will know that we wanted to be a Belgian brewery. I mentioned earlier about our trip to Belgium, and we love Belgian beers, and that's kind of what this place was founded on.
Yep.
But we've discovered that there's not a huge market for Belgian beers. We wish there was, but the biggest market for Belgian beers is Belgium.
Yeah.
But we also, as far as the tap room goes, we didn't know what to expect, and we didn't want to turn it into something forcefully.
Right.
So we just kind of let it happen organically, and what happened, for better or worse, is we are a family-friendly, dog-friendly, community-based tap room, and we've embraced that to the gills.
Absolutely. We do a dog-friendly Santa every year. There are some dogs who are almost dog celebrities that are here so often that they have their birthday parties here. I think one of them's actually got their own Facebook page now as
I'm sure.
an unmapped dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
Their name's actually, I think they're still sitting right behind me, Poppy. But there's a handful of dogs, and we have a bunch of staff. In fact, our original Imperial Stout was named after the founder's dog.
Yeah, Ruby,
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
Yep, yeah.
So, and family friendly, especially I think every year there's some new thing that we offer to families to come in and be, as much as beer is an adult thing, we definitely, want to make sure that people can bring their kids in and have them, because kids run around and to keep them entertained and happy. We definitely have a lot of options for that here for sure. Yeah. Including beverages as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I always see families here. Like it's not just, and I think one of the things Minnesota, once tap rooms became a reality, I think Minnesota was a little behind the curve about kind of getting what a tap room is out to people. If you go to Michigan, to Portland, to a lot of places, kids in a tap room is kind of you don't even think about it. It's just part of the culture.
You notice when they're not there.
Right, exactly. And so, in Minnesota, I think that was a little weird. I mean, you're thinking about, the, sensibilities of, the Germanic Norwegian people, we're just kind of stuck in our ways. Why would we change this? And what is a tap room? I think there's, I'm on the tail end of doing that live show with Doug Hoverson, and I learned so much history about why people didn't like taverns and just all the negative things. And I think that narrative has stuck around for decades. And I think places like this are really important because you show, you can bring your kids here there's some education that needs to happen with your kids and with other people about this is what beer is. You need to respect beer. Also, this is how we act in a tap room. You know, sometimes you go into a tap room and it's like, you know, Chuck E. Cheese where everybody was given a double espresso before they came in. And that's not always great because, you know, oftentimes I like to come to a brewery and have some conversation. But when I'm here, you can tell that people bringing their kids have had that talk and demonstrated like, okay, this is how we're going to act here. Dogs everywhere, and it's great. Like there's always like, yeah, there's a
I'm
bunch
looking
of
around
dogs
now
here.
and I see a few. Yeah.
I'm not the only one drooling, so that's always nice.
There have been instances where there's either more kids or more dogs in here than actual adults drinking beer. But that doesn't mean it's a crazy situation. I mean, even with the dog thing, we recently started Dog Matters an event on Wednesdays.
The dog training.
Dog
course.
training for people who want to be able to bring their dogs in, and
Yeah.
that's, you know, it's also leaning into the family-friendly, dog-friendly thing. And I think the tap rooms have been around long enough for people that there's kind of an inherent etiquette that people have figured out now. It's like, you know, when you go to a sit-down restaurant, they've been around for years. People know how to act at them. I think now that tap rooms have been around for so long, it's kind of built into a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that, you know, as a newer, as I mentioned, I was the original head brewer here. I spent most of my time hiding in the back, producing beer. Now I spend a lot more time out front trying to figure out, you know, what draws people in, what keeps people here, what's going to get them to come back. So I'm looking around and I'm listening very carefully to complaints about people like, oh, there's so many dogs, or the kids are so loud. And one thing that I realized is that you can't be everything for everyone.
Right.
And what you really need to do is just look around the room and look at people's faces. Like, is everybody here having a horrible time, or is everybody here having a great time? And that is your barometer to whether you're doing something right or wrong. And in a long route, the point I'm trying to make is, if you're listening to this podcast right now, it sounds kind of raucous in here. And I tell you, what you're hearing is adults. You're not hearing dogs. You're not hearing kids.
Right.
There's a lot of grown-ups here having a really good time, making a lot of noise, having fun with each other, enjoying the company of other people. And I'm looking around and I see kids and I see dogs.
Yeah.
So we welcome you with your kids. We welcome you with your dogs. But also bring your friends who aren't kids and dogs and have a good time. We want to make everybody happy.
Oh, I think if I had $1 for every time I've been here with a bunch of teachers for happy hour, I wouldn't be so depressed about the stock market right now because I'd have extra reserves. You know, this is a great gathering spot, and that's a perfect lead-in into the next point. Unmapped is a rare kind of place because it is really kind of a gathering spot for the community. I can not tell you how many times I've come in, seen parents of a student or a former student, either just visiting or today on staff. That's kind of crazy to me. As you've kind of grown over the years, you know, now you started out as a head brewer, now you're part owner. First of all, congratulations to formally say that. That's a big deal.
Thank you. It's extremely exciting. Like I said before, this place started as an amazing place, and we just want to keep that going.
Yeah. And so, like, the fact that this is a place that so many people choose to spend time. There's over 200 breweries in the state of Minnesota. What is it about this place and the people here that you feel kind of really makes it special? Like you said, when you were talking about when you open, we're thinking about being a Belgian forward bar. You can't just wish the type of place you want it to be into existence. A lot of that happens organically. What is it about this place that makes that community aspect so special?
Yeah, I'll start, and Harry can either back me up or argue with me later. But I think it all starts. One of the things that we're always asking ourselves, because as a new owner, I'm looking at numbers.
Yeah.
How did we do last Tuesday? How did we do last Saturday?
You've gone from yeast counts to head counts. Like, that's basically...
Great point, yes. And what I find myself asking my co-owner is what is the formula? Why did we do that well that Saturday when we didn't at the same Saturday last year or the same Saturday last week? And to his credit, his response was, there's no formula, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I really took that to heart. It sounds easy, like, oh, just do the right thing. No, if you do the right thing, you're going to make everyone's experience better. You're going to make the good times better, and you're going to make the bad times less bad.
Yeah.
So don't spend so much time and energy and effort trying to figure out what you did right that one day to try to re-emulate that. Just keep doing the right thing. Be a good person. And I think, again, I make answers longer than they need to be.
That's perfect for a podcast because that's less talking I have to do. That's perfect.
From the very beginning, we have had nothing but the best staff. And that is the thing that we get both from the brewery and the coffee shop. You look at our Google reviews, the biggest thing that people talk about is how engaging and how good and how friendly the staff was. And it's wonderful because I haven't been in charge except for the last 3 months. But that's exactly how I want it to be. I want people to come in and leave knowing that they were treated as good as they could be treated, regardless of who they are. We've always said that everybody is welcome here, and we want everyone to believe that. Everyone that comes in here is going to be treated the same way. We started from day one with a quality-focused production brewery, and if every beer that we make is good, we feel like we're going to win on that part. But what's going to set us apart from the next brewery that also makes great beer could be our staff, could be the way that people interact or engage with our staff, and I think that's where we really kind of go above and beyond, and I'm so proud of that. Harry, do you have anything to add?
I mean,
you are one of those staff.
Oh, thank you.
You
Harry,
work
how long have
behind the
you
bar.
been with Unmapped?
I started my wife. She was one of the taproom managers, and I in the service industry for a long time, and I got burned out with restaurants and took a hiatus. And she's like, "Well, would you ever go back to it?" I go, "I actually honestly miss bartending." She goes, "Well, why don't you talk to Megan and Jade and see about getting a bartend position?" And at the time, I had just been offered a job to do sales for Spiral Brewing. And
okay.
So I was actually I was moonlighting, and so I was working bartending here and doing sales for them there, and just through COVID popped up and everyone's life kind of got twisted around, and through certain events I came into here for distribution, and so that started pre-COVID.
Okay.
So I started 2018. I don't know, what's my permanent record say? I think I was starting in 2018 as a bartender. July.
Okay.
He's been here over 5 years. He earned another week of vacation this year.
Nice. Okay.
That's what owners talk about.
Oh
Yeah. So no, I've been. It's been an awesome place, and honestly, Karen and I accidentally came here on the opening first day of Unmapped being open.
2017, right?
Yep.
Okay.
We were, she was going back to school, so we were a poor couple, just got married, and we were trying to decide if we were going to go to a Flying Dutchman down the road.
Oh yeah.
Or we kept hearing about this new Belgian brewery opening up, waiting to hear when it's going to open up, and. We said, well, whichever one says they're dog friendly, we're going to. And Unmapped was dog friendly, and we got here. I was like, oh, cool. So how's business going? Like, well, it's been a couple hours. So we're like, seriously? So it's pretty cool. And then 6 months later, Kara's working here, and a year later, I was working here. So I've enjoyed it. And honestly, kind of back to what you're saying, I think what we do well is it's very community oriented. The staff, especially, everyone talks to the customers here as if they're hopefully going to see them the next day, and that's you warm and welcome with that. But at the end of the day, it also starts with quality beer, and that's one thing. Derek started from the beginning. All of our beers are quality, they're the best iterations of any given style. So but good beer, and then having a staff that's just very welcoming is extremely important. I think that's what's gotten us here, and you can't focus on. When you go back to saying, like, oh, why were we better this day than the other, or why we were worse the last time? You can't you can learn from things that aren't going exactly well a particular day, but at the end of the day, just do it right every time, and everything will go up. So,
well, and I have to imagine, especially in the summer, if you're looking at a random Saturday, if it rained.
Yeah, weather.
I mean, or if it was like oppressively hot, you get those 90-degree August days. If the sun's out, nobody wants to sit on the patio because they're going to melt. And you get an early, nice day in spring, it doesn't take much. Could be 55 degrees and sunny, and this place is going to be nuts to butts, from the parking lot into the tap room.
Yeah.
There's so many random things. I think you could go crazy trying to overanalyze.
You absolutely can. Most recently we had I know they say don't read the comments, and I try really hard not to, whether it's Untapped or Facebook. One of the more recent comments was one of the most beautiful days we've had so far this year. One of the ones that ruined us for days like today where it's sunny and 45, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But we remember that 65-degree day that we had in March. But anyway, one of the comments was, you guys always have too many tables reserved. There's never enough room left over for other people. And we remember exactly the day that was. And I go back to what I said earlier. We looked around and we saw nothing but happy faces. Yeah. Everybody enjoying themselves. And one of the things that we're never going to do, we're never going to apologize for being busy. We're not going to do that. And then, talking about loud, kids and dogs and stuff like that kind of goes the same way. We're not going to apologize for being successful.
Yeah. Well, I think, you could go crazy analyzing that. There's the squeaky wheel, and a lot of times, especially in the hospitality industry, gets the grease. People bend over backward for that one person who's expressing their dismay at a situation. But like you said, look around the room. Nobody here is having a bad time.
Right.
I'm certainly not. This Schnitzendunkel is delicious. But it's like, everybody's... You can't make everybody happy. I want to go back to something that you said earlier, because I think that it sounds weird to say, but beer quality can go overlooked when you're in the minutia of like opening up a brewery and trying to, okay, who do we want to be? Start with the beer. The beer is going to, it's not if you build it, they will come. If you brew quality beer, they will come. Tell people who don't know your background, because I think a lot of people open up breweries, and oftentimes my first question is, who is your brewer? Sometimes it's somebody who has a lot of professional experience. And sometimes it's like, well, it's my friend who homebrews. Now, in both cases, those can be very successful.
Yeah.
We mentioned Lupulin earlier. They were homebrewers. They started brewing and brewed really great beer.
Look at them now.
Right from the get-go.
Schnitzdunkel, you just mentioned
exactly. That was a collab.
That was Unmapped's very first collaboration, and it was with the folks at Lupulin, because I respect them both as human beings and as a brewery.
Yeah.
But to your point, they started as homebrewers that wanted to open a brewery with their passion.
Yeah. Now, I think Unmapped was really lucky to get someone like you who's had lots of industry experience. Just briefly take us down your brewing resume. I think it's pretty jaw-dropping. All the different, just not only the places, but the variety of things that you've probably picked up along the way.
Yeah, I will be brief, because you know me. I'm a humble person that doesn't like to talk about myself. I was extremely fortunate that, after brewing school, I got a 5-week internship. I'm sorry, not a 5-week, a 4-month internship with Summit, straight out of brewing school, which led me into a professional brewing career at Shell's in New Ulm, which I stayed at for 2 years. And then, I always think of myself as a resume jumper, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but every time I switched a brewery, there was a major life event that happened. My wife got pregnant. We were trying to have kids, and both of our families were in the Twin Cities. So, you got a built-in babysitter for both sets of grandparents. So let's figure out how do we move back to the Twin Cities? And it was right after Callaway moved back to San Diego, and so Surly had an opening, and I reached out to Todd and said, hey, I'm moving back to Twin Cities. It looks like you've got an opening. You hire anyone yet? And his response was 2 words, let's talk. I'm like, all right, great. So we touched base, and next thing you know, I'm brewing at Surly, making work for 2.5 years, making some of the most amazing beers that people know about on the planet. I mean,
beers that people still talk about that are gone you made, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, who remembers Bitter Brewer? Such an amazing beer. Love that beer. Mild, Surly mild. People think about Surly and they think super hoppy, super strong alcohol.
Abrasive.
Oh yeah, abrasive's amazing. Do you remember what that was called before it was abrasive? Anybody? Dan, you probably know. It's a number.
Oh.
I remember what the can looks like. Because it was in a can, right?
No,
I didn't make it. I made abrasive, but I didn't make it.
What was it?
16 grit.
I knew it had something to do with sandpaper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
16 grit, yeah.
And then what was Bandwagon before it was Bandwagon? No, I'm sorry. Bandwagon was what it was. And it became overrated.
That's right.
Sorry, I said the punchline.
I never knew it
first.
as Bandwagon, though.
Yeah, so that was that 1 year that they had it at the Target Field, and it was called Bandwagon. And
okay.
I think there was a Bandwagon Brewing Company cease and desist. Anyway, so Surly a couple years, and then Surly, to its own credit, got so popular that there was overnight shifts that just didn't work for me. I just can't do the overnight shifts. I loved working for Surly. I loved the company. I loved the people. And then a position opened up 9 blocks from my house at Excelsior Brewing Company where I could actually work during the daytime. So I jumped all over that. And I worked at Excelsior Brewing for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I read about this brewery that was going to open up nearby, and I felt like, okay, it's been a few years. I think I can probably achieve this head brewer thing. I'll reach out and see if they're looking. And sure enough, they needed a brewer, and they liked me and started brewing.
Yeah, what a get for them.
Here in 2017. Thank you. And the rest is history, I guess, if I can pick a cliche out of my pocket. But it's been a great road. I love every part of where I've been to where I am, and just riding that wave, the opportunity. And what's funny about it is that the whole time that I was here, I saw what Jade and Megan went through as owners. And for the first time, after all of the breweries that I worked at, I said to myself, no, I'm good. I'll be a brewer. I don't want to own my own brewery. And now here we are.
Well, that's pretty crazy.
But I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
Honestly.
One of the cool things is the fact that you see, and this is not a negative comment, but you see a lot of head brewers, let alone brewers, jumping from brewery to brewery for obviously different opportunities and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the fact that to be part of one company as a head brewer and then to now be, the front man it speaks volumes about your work ethic and your personality, which is really cool. So,
thanks, Harry.
Well, I think it's important to also note the fact that, Derek, you mentioned it already. You are incredibly humble, and that humility in so many different ways is quite an endearing quality that a human can have. And when Eric Wentling introduced us years ago, and I just, from the get-go, you just seem like such a person who is easy to talk to. I never feel bad asking you a dumb question about beer.
Because there are no dumb questions.
Well, some people don't make it seem that way. I just think you are charming, you're intelligent, you're kind, and it shows in the beer. I think you do a great job of observing and listening, and when you ask a patron a question, how are you liking the beer, I think it is coming from a place of sincerity and not just lip service. And I think that's a quality that is probably pretty underrated, and we could use more of in the industry as a whole. So I think that's pretty awesome. I always enjoy getting the opportunity to chat with you, and Harry, I'm sure he probably makes your job real easy, because one thing when you're selling beer, if you don't have to try to convince somebody that it's quality beer, isn't that half the battle. You know going into a new account or a new liquor store that like I don't need to sell them on the quality. The quality speaks for itself.
It's really cool to work for a company where I can say, well, it's easy to sell great beer, and that's one thing I get to do. I really appreciate the fact that we have a catalog of all kinds of different beers, not to mention, the behemoths, which is No Trace, Low Vis, and Pils. It's a lot of, it's very exciting, and it's nice to be able to just be confident about when you walk into either a new customer or you're going to a customer you've had for years and you have something new, because they know that it's going to be something good, and it's going to have consistency. It makes selling beer to people who have not either heard of us or tried what's new a lot easier. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. How has the distribution game changed in the last couple of years? I know that there's a narrative out there that, people aren't drinking as much, they're drinking different things, but yet, I come in here, there's a lot of people. Your bartenders are always busy. So is that the reality, or is that like not happening?
I mean, honestly, like we're not very far removed from COVID, which was like the biggest era of drinking I think has been seen since the prohibition was canceled.
Yeah.
The big notch was basically when THC drinks became legal. It definitely affected how much beer people were drinking. And it was, you see that in the numbers. You see that with your buyers. They're going from buying 10 cases of beer in one purchase to 5 and asking, hey, do you have THC seltzer available for distribution? We have one THC product and we're working on a couple others. But as far as beer consumption, I think there's also a lot of people during COVID who, they're working from home or they're working from a brewery, and there's some people who found out maybe drinking that much is not for them.
Yeah.
And so they went from having like some beers on the weekend to every day, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't do it, so they stop. There's other things. There's definitely a culture right now that say maybe alcohol isn't a thing for people, and that's definitely a narrative right now. But at the end of the day, we still have beer's been around for how many 1,000 years, 2,000 years? I mean,
well, if you go back to the Mesopotamia, it's 8 to 10,000.
There's always been peaks and valleys throughout the history of beer, and I wouldn't even call this a valley necessarily, but
yeah.
And on top of that, especially right now, the market has changed where people just aren't maybe willing to spend that extra money on a better beer.
Yeah.
And I know that's not a good way to word it, but I still say there's definitely a market, and there's new people turning 21 every day, where they might have an opportunity to try a quality product, and that might be able to go down. But it's definitely, there's still a big market, and there's still, for a brewery, most breweries, we were even talking about this, there's breweries in Minneapolis that are amazing, and you can't find them in the suburbs, and sometimes there's suburban breweries that you can't find within the metro.
Yeah.
I think that's just finding where you have an opportunity to have somebody try your beer, get excited about it. There's always going to be a need for that. It's just maybe we're working a little bit harder for it now.
Okay.
So,
how far afield would somebody have to travel from this area to find your beer on the liquor store shelf?
I mean, it dilutes the further away you get.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'd say within 5-10 miles, we have the most concentration of it.
Okay.
We do very well in suburban area neighborhoods. We do have a couple random spots for someone, maybe a bar owner or a liquor store owner. Like, I had your beer at a beer festival. And we have actually got customers that will come pick up the beer because they like it so much and want it in their place of business. But, 5-10 miles radius around this. You can easily find our beer in almost every liquor store.
Okay.
But I mean, we used to have a person that would actually come up, and it wasn't a store, but to know how much people like our beer, we have someone come up from Chicago once a year and buy 10 cases of quad.
Yeah, like 72 bottles of quad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
But it's about finding the markets where you're not going to do well, and we definitely know we do well in suburban area communities. So generally we focus on those, but we always look for new ways to get people, trying to get in more golf courses, bowling alleys, stuff like that. It's about trying to find opportunities, and it's a little bit harder to find opportunities in this climate, but we still find them, and we're still selling more beer every month.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good, and I'm happy to hear that because, I can't wrap my head around the fact that young people who are coming into legal drinking age are not drinking much. And now I know,
Times have changed.
I don't.
It's different.
I can't wrap my head around it either.
I don't get it, and I'm like, so it's encouraging for me to hear it, and I should talk to more people that are heavily involved in distribution, because it's like you hear all sorts of stuff, but it's like you are living it every day.
Yeah.
You're looking at the numbers, so that gives me a reason to kind of be cautiously optimistic. Now, what doesn't make me optimistic right now is I'm staring at 3 empty pint glasses. So let's take a break. Let's get a refill, and when we come back, I want to talk about more of the stuff happening in the tap room, and then I want to dive into your Derek's transition into ownership. I think that will be a very interesting topic. So we're here at Unmapped Brewing in Minnetonka, Minnesota, and you're listening to a One Pint Stand.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying a One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. Now, if you're also into those things, you will probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow a One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. I also started a TikTok account because I was tired of Charles calling me a boomer for not having one. I would appreciate any and all positive reviews on Spotify and Apple Music, or wherever you listen to your podcast, to help make it easier for other craft beer listeners to find us. If you want to be a supporter of the podcast with some extra change that you find in your couch cushions, I have a Patreon. There are 3 different monthly levels of support, and they're priced at $1, $3, or $5 a month. If you pledge at the $3 or $5 monthly level, you get some pretty cool perks. So go to patreon.com and search a One Pint Stand to check it out. We're up to 23 total Patreon supporters, and I am just really excited for what that means for the show. If you like reading about craft beer, check out my written work on onepintstand.com. I love to write, and that's where you can find a lot of written content that covers both the local craft beer happenings in Minnesota and my craft beer travels. I recently published my yearly list of favorite Minnesota craft breweries, which many people have told me over the years that they find really helpful. I also know that really does create a nice, a really fun beer discussion on the Facebook group. So that's always just read the comments and laugh and laugh and laugh. I truly appreciate you listening and taking time to enjoy our stories. Before we head back to the show, I want to talk about this episode's sponsor, Lupulin Brewing Company. Lupulin Brewing is turning 10, and they're celebrating with a 4-day bash starting May 28th. It all kicks off with 10 years of Run Club. Take a lap around the lake and score a free beer when you're done. That night, co-founder and president Jeff Ziert hosts a special Lupulin-themed trivia night with deep cuts guaranteed. On Thursday the 29th, jump in the time machine and relive 2015 with a throwback release of 4 original beers, plus some familiar faces behind the bar, pouring like the good old days. Friday the 30th cranks things up with live music and the debut of their 10th anniversary beer, simply named 10. This hazy triple IPA is a bold, juicy tribute to everything Lupulin stands for. And on Saturday the 31st, the party hits full throttle. Live music, local vendors, games, infusions, slushies, and yes, a hot dog eating contest. Because why not? It's all happening at the Lupulin Tap Room off Highway 10 in Big Lake. Come raise a pint and toast to 10 years of beer-fueled adventures.
How about a beer?
Okay, welcome back. We're here for the second half of my interview with some of the gentlemen here at Unmapped Brewing Company in Minnetonka, Minnesota. I'm with Derek and Harry, and we're having a great time. The sun is out. There are some brave souls on the patio, which in Minnesota, I mean, once the thermometer gets above 35 degrees, you'll get the diehards out there, I'm sure. So, Derek, in the first half of the interview we were talking about, you started here as the head brewer. Now you are owner, one of the owners. Talk to me about that. I'm sure, people all the time ask me, I'm a teacher, so they're like, do you think you ever want to be a principal? And my response to that is usually I'd rather get a back rub from Edward Scissorhands than be a principal of this clown show. So talk to me about, how did that situation come to be? And was it something at first that you were like, yes, I want to do this? Or were you like, I don't know. I kind of like what I'm doing. And, P. Diddy says more money, more problems. And then more recently he said more baby oil. So what are we talking about here with the ownership? Talk me through what that was like.
Well, thank you for building that up. If the listeners could have seen my head gestures through everything that you just said, it would be up and down, side to side, eyes rolling, and laughing. It was pretty. Thanks for the lead-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I alluded to this a little bit earlier when I was talking about, finally becoming a head brewer, finally convincing myself that I was good enough to be a head brewer. But recognizing that even though maybe 10 years ago from that point, which was now 8 years ago. All right, this isn't a math program, right?
No, not for me, no.
Anyway, let's go back 15 years. Yes, there was a time when I wanted to own my own brewery.
Okay.
And then I got into brewing, and I, made work for a lot of places. Excelsior Brewing. I was more involved with the day-to-day production overall standpoint. And then, of course, here at Unmapped, it was the first time I was an actual head brewer. And being a head brewer and doing everything that's required and watching somebody else run the brewery from, front of house, all of that, I realized, I want no part of that. I no longer want to own my own brewery. I just want to run a brewery. And part of that is credit to Jade and Megan because they really took care of me. They were really good to me. They recognized how important quality was. And one of the things that we did when we first opened this place is we didn't put a card table in the back corner and call that our lab. We set aside a lot of space to do different quality tests to ensure that the beer that we made was the best quality that we could make, not only at the point of serving, but also making sure that we knew it was going to last in the vessel that we sold the customer, whether that was a keg or a crowler or a growler. We wanted to make sure that beer was going to last. So I was taken care of really well, and I really enjoyed my part in the back. And I think there's maybe some truth to brewers being a little curmudgeon-y because I accused other head brewers of being curmudgeons before I was one myself. And then I realized, I can see that. We're very science-focused. We're very, we follow recipes and make sure that everything is consistent, whereas a social conversation out on the taproom floor can vary from time to time and change and go so many different directions.
Yeah.
It can start the same place and go this direction, that direction. When it's brewing, like I said earlier, if you're making the same beer over and over, it has to go the same direction from the beginning through the middle to the end so that the end consumer who is ultimately going to buy that beer gets what they expect to get.
Right. And I think people don't understand that. It's not easy. I mean, think about it. Like when you are cooking at home, we all have our go-to things that we make, and like it doesn't always turn out to get something to turn out the exact same time every single time you do it. That is very difficult.
It is. It's a challenge, and sometimes there are happy mistakes, and we experience that in the brewery too. Some beers, I know your question is going to be, can you give me an example of a happy mistake? And I can't think of one right now. Harry's looking at me like he knows one.
Yeah.
Go for it.
3 Acre Farm.
3 Acre Farm. So when we first opened Unmapped, we wanted to have a year-round saison on all the time. And the first one that we made wasn't exactly what we wanted. So we named it 3 Acre Farm. Or was that the Imperial?
The 3 Acre Farm, we didn't have a 1 acre or 2 acre farm.
So 3 Acre was
3
the first.
Acre
Okay.
was a stuck mash out. Am I saying that right?
Yep. Well, stuck mash.
Stuck mash. And so obviously we ended up with just a lot more octane.
We were trying to make 620 gallons, and we ended up with 100. So
But-
we ended up with a really strong saison.
Or wait,
It
hold
was
on.
an
I have
11. Yeah, go for it. But I mean, it ended up at 11%, and it was a hit. A couple people it hit a little too hard, but at the end of the day, it was wonderful. It was to
Was
this
anybody
day,
popping wheelies on Excelsior after that?
maybe hiding behind the bushes and handling some business, But in any case, it ended up being it was like almost it was sad when we ran out of that because it ended up being such a hit. We did a couple other. I think we did 4 and 5 Acre Farm, and maybe we're due for number 6 someday. But it's cool when if you can salvage something like that and have it end up being something super cool. That was a very, very awesome beer that was not intended at all.
Yeah, that's cool.
and that's one of the beauties of brewing is that you might make a different beer than you were intending, but that might not mean it's a bad beer.
Yeah.
But the absolute wrong thing to do is to try to pass that beer off as the beer you were trying to make.
Exactly.
And that's where you can go very, very wrong.
And we had another beer that wasn't an accident, but the success level was Pandora's Box.
Yeah, that wasn't an accident at all.
Yeah.
But that's a great story.
But it was tell me if I'm telling this wrong. CBC was in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and we had, which was insanely a huge task, but a lot of fun. We did 7 collaborations from breweries all over the state.
I remember that.
And
That's right.
it was, hats off to the back house because that was not easy. But on every collaboration we did, it was unique on every level. Fun. Interestingly enough, I think it was all lagers. That's what it was. You ask a brewer, what do you want to brew? Yeah, I think it was all lagers. I can't remember one ale. But you ask a brewer, well, what kind of beer do you want to do? Lager. And it's cool. We did a lot of variations.
Lager it is. We've got unlimited tank space. Let's go for it.
For 5 weeks. But in any case, we ended up with a lot of random different malts and grains afterwards. And I forget whose idea it was, but we needed to make an Imperial Stout. And it ended up going into an Imperial Stout, which we called Pandora's Box, because obviously we didn't know exactly what was going to come out of it, having so many different flavors going in. And it ended up being, on its own, a wonderful Imperial Stout, but we also put it into a handful of different barrels, one of which that was, I think, probably the most popular, was a maple syrup barrel, or it was a whiskey barrel that had aged maple syrup. Right. And then after the maple syrup company was done with it, we put that beer in it. And we did a sap boil last year from sap from Derek's trees.
Okay.
And we featured it then, and the feedback from that was amazing. So that was kind of we didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be, but that beer, it had long legs, no pun intended. But it also ended up in an exclusive wild turkey barrel for Shorewood Liquor out in Shorewood, and I think they might even have a few bottles of that left in their cellar available for sale. But yeah, that was a cool beer too. We didn't expect it to be the biggest hit in every direction that it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we took basically every leftover bag of grain where we didn't use the entire bag and threw it into this. I mean, the grist bill was so big that it had to go on a separate page. And it was basically like throwing the kitchen sink at a brew. and it turned out to be really good. I mean, there was smoked malt, there was smoked wheat, there was, basically any variety of malt that you can think of that you can put in a beer. So a part of that was in this beer.
Okay.
And it created an incredible imperial stout, to which not only we just ferment and put it in bottles, but we put it in a various number of barrels as well, and turn that into 6 or 7 different kinds of end results, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think about developing a recipe from the beginning, envisioning what you want it to be, what you want it to become, where it needs to start, going through all the steps, and then you completely disregard all of that, and you just grab stuff off the shelf, turn it into something, and then turn it into something else,
Yeah.
and something else, and something else. And that's a lot of the fun.
Well, and you probably don't get that many opportunities to do that because, like you said, as a brewer, brewers are very much creatures of habit. And so,
There's no way we can make this beer again.
No,
Right.
because the
I
brew
mean,
sheet's gone, right?
Well, even if we had the brew sheet and we know exactly how much of each grain we used, we could recreate that. But we don't know exactly how old the smoked wheat was.
Right.
We don't know how
Yeah.
old the cherrywood barley was. So it's probably never going to exist again.
So was that when you realized you're like, you know what? I've reached the pinnacle of creativity. It's time to move on to ownership. Is that what was kind of planted the seed?
Sure.
No pun intended.
That's somebody else's problem now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I guess that was the original question, wasn't it? So yeah, somewhere along the way, I decided that maybe I was lying to myself when I said I never wanted to own my own brewery. And when the opportunity arose, I was like, I can't miss this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody else across town presented this opportunity. This was
Right.
a place where I was my first head brewer.
Yeah.
Where they gave me a shot, where I fully supported everything that they believed in, started, did, and now all of a sudden I had an opportunity to take that over and continue it. And that was one of the things that they said last night, and I don't know if we touched on this earlier. Anytime a brewery changes ownership, you need to get approval from the city for that liquor license. You have to go through
You have to reapply.
you have to go through a
I did
background
not know
check
that.
to make
Okay.
sure you're not a felon or
Yeah.
anything else.
Like, how many autographs does this guy have on the wall with the forklift? Trying to see.
Good one. And there has to be public hearings and everything. And so yesterday, ironically, was the second of the 2 public hearings, and the city council made a motion to approve the liquor license for Nate and myself, and the city council themselves had a number of them volunteer to speak on our behalf to
Okay.
talk about how good Unmapped had been for the community since
Yeah.
they first opened, and they were so glad that when the original owners moved on, that there was people to take over, and so it was great to hear people in the community talk highly of us and encourage us, and we've come full circle now.
Yeah. Well, so, this, your origin story, it's kind of like now a parallel tale. Because there's the origin story of you becoming a head brewer and learning, how that works, thriving in that position. I'll say it. You don't have to say it.
Thank
I will
you.
say you were thriving in that position. And now, to bring that kind of full circle, you have this opportunity to become the owner of a place where you really kind of learned that, yes, I can be a head brewer. Does that give you confidence about the different type of challenge that ownership is going to bring?
I think it translates, going into the head brewer position, I had a lot of opportunities to be a brewer, convince myself, yeah, I can probably be a head brewer. I've had zero opportunities to, practice being an owner.
Yeah.
But I think just being as close as I was to both the people that ran Excelsior
Yeah.
and the people that ran Unmapped, I was able to absorb a lot of stuff that I probably couldn't at some of the bigger breweries that I worked at,
Right,
because
yeah.
I was so far removed from that part of the operation that I feel like that really helped me, for lack of a better term, believe in myself that I could do this.
Yeah. So how has your day-to-day changed?
Great question. I think, and a lot of people have asked me that, like, when you were a brewer, you'd come in the morning, you would heat water.
Yeah.
You would, do all the things that were required. Maybe you mill some grain to get ready for that day's brew, or you get the filter set up, or, any number of things. Every day is different as an owner.
Yeah.
One of the things that I spend a lot more time doing as an owner that I didn't think I would be doing is managing people. And I've absolutely loved that. There's so many different aspects of this business where people need you. As an employer, I've recognized that I've gone to my superiors with endless numbers of questions over the years. And in my head, it was just like, hey, I got a question. You got an answer. I didn't recognize just how much was involved on their side.
Yeah.
And how often that happened, because there are so many different people that kind of report up to you.
You're right.
And I've learned how important that is, and how that is, you have to show up every day. You can't come to work and think, all right, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to do that. And then the day is over. You're going to get interrupted with questions from different people about how to do this. Maybe somebody called in sick that day, so their direct report is no longer available, so then they're going to skip that person, come to you. And I've recognized just how important that is to people underneath you. And that's really where you have to focus and make sure that they know that if they do have a problem, they have somebody that they can come to.
Yeah.
And because I've been in places where that step has missed, and it has not been good.
Yeah.
And that's where good people decide, nope, I'm not getting my needs met. I'm going to go on and move somewhere else. And those are the things that you have to focus on and pay attention to.
Yeah. And like you said, Megan and Jade, they created a culture here with everybody from front of the house to back of the house, where just kind of akin to the beers that you were making that were very quality forward. I mean, I've been here many, many times, and I've always had a positive interaction with the staff. And I think that's I wish I could say that was the case everywhere. It's not. And that doesn't happen on accident. And so, kind of like if there was a great, if you'd want the baton to be passed in a certain way, I think that's probably, they have set you up for success.
That is 100%, 100% what we're going for. They set us up for success. We like the culture, the vision, the mission that was set out by them. And for anybody who's wondering if this change of ownership is going to mean anything for them, it's not. There's not going to be any change whatsoever that they're going to, experience when they show up here. And that was one of the things that the city recognized last night that they're excited about, is that it's just going to continue to be the same. And from the brewing standpoint, too, what they've come to expect is what they're always going to get. And yes, we were extremely lucky to come into a place where the stage has been set.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have to do a whole lot because it was a good stage. And we're we're going to keep all of that going forward.
Yeah. Harry, I'm curious to ask you about, on your end with the distribution, you deal with a lot of different accounts. I have to imagine that maybe, when you hear there's an ownership change, is it, were there questions like, okay, so what, did you have a lot of those same questions? What's going to change? Are you going to be brewing different beers? What were those interactions like after Derek kind of took on the reins with his partner?
I can't think of any negative interactions or inquiries we had. I mean, once people found out, it's like, is there going to be a change? Are you guys going to stay open? Well, the first question to that is absolutely. Are you guys going to continue distributing? Well, that's why I'm here calling on you. Then they ask, well, who's taking over? And I go, it's the head brewer that we've had since day one, who's responsible for all this amazing beer. And immediately, you can see in their faces or their first words, it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people, when you see ownership change or, management change even with breweries, there's, it's like, okay, what are we expecting now? Is there going to be a style of beer change? But the cool thing was all the reactions I got were just like, oh, the head brewer? Absolutely. And a lot of people are aware, or if they haven't met Derek, they're aware of him, and it's nothing but positivity, which is great. So somebody who's been with the brewery, helped design, or you designed the back of house brewing system and have been an absolutely integral part of the brewery ever since day one, and to have everyone's reaction being confident and good, that's huge. And then again, that also makes people confident in buying our beer outside the tap room, knowing they're going to still get consistent customer service and product from the same brewery that they've been buying from since we opened back in 2017.
Yeah.
So,
what's been a positive surprise? As much as you were kind of prepped for your role, what's been something about kind of putting on that owner hat that you've really enjoyed?
Well, we were talking about it earlier, brewers who really focused on their craft are kind of curmudgeon-y.
Yeah.
And we don't like to come out front unless we've got a disguise and nobody knows who you are and you're just blending in. And so that was a big thing that I was nervous about was this is my company now. I need to come out front and make sure that people know who's involved. And for me, it's a big thing to create make sure that people that are, not just regulars, but everybody know that you are extremely, you know that it's important to me that you're here.
Yeah.
And create that dialogue with people maybe that you don't know.
Yeah.
And make sure that they know that you're glad that they're here and you appreciate that they're here.
That's hugely important.
Whether you come here 3 times a week or 3 times a year, recognize that, hey, I've seen you in here before. I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I'm really glad that you come.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people who aren't necessarily extroverts to do that.
I think of that.
But it's also important
that line
because
from Office Space was like, "I'm a people person. I work with people."
Right.
It's kind of like,
I'm a GD people person.
I'm good at dealing with the customers.
yeah. I mean, but and I'll tell you that, when I go to a brewery and I talk to people and I'll ask them, how often do you see the owner here? Sometimes what I want that answer to be is all the time.
Right.
Because I think as an owner, you need to know what's going on. And we talked earlier about data analytics of taproom thing.
Yep.
The best, I have to imagine, not easy for me to say. I'm an English teacher. I don't own a brewery, but if I did, I would be here all the time talking to people, both regulars and people who are, what do you like about this place? What do you want to see? And I mean, I'm sure that doing that too much or putting too much stock in that might be problematic, but you need to have your finger on the pulse of this place.
Yeah, no, you absolutely do. And to what you just said, you can't come out here every day and try too hard because it's going to come across as fake.
Yeah.
But also going back to what I said earlier in the podcast is do the right thing. And what's important is you got to remember, what do you like when you go to a brewery?
Yeah.
Like you just brought up.
Yeah.
You don't go out there and be what makes, I'm talking about myself. As an owner, I don't need to go out to the front of the house and behave the way I want to, where I don't have to talk to somebody. I need to think about how I want the owner of the place to behave with me.
Yeah.
And that's when you get out. And I can't, my wife is my rock, and she hears everything that nobody ever hears. And she'll tell you that she knows that I get really nervous when I know I have to go out and interact with the public. But every time I come back from that, she always hears, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I love the people I met, the stories I was able to tell, the stories I heard from them. So it's always a reward for me to go out and do the things that I'm scared to do.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And I guess long way to answer the question that you asked, that's kind of been the biggest surprise, is being able to come out and being more involved with the people that are keeping this place alive. Because let's be honest, I can go in the back and make beer for 6 weeks, but if nobody comes in and buys it, and we're not going to be around for long.
Right. So, in the last, I apologize, but I don't remember exactly when the coffee shop opened, Base Camp. But that was a big deal. How has that gone? And are there other things, as you are now an owner, that you're looking at to kind of like expand? I know you do a lot of like weekly events. You've got some great yearly events. The anniversary party is a big deal. The hop picking for the Dan Gladden fresh hop beer is exciting. But as you're kind of looking at, several, like a lot of experience here, kind of what works, what doesn't. What are some new things that you're thinking about? I mean, the rooftop was exciting. That made me want to bring out my Huffy with my Spooky Dokes and, try to ride down the pop a few wheelies on Excelsior.
Wheelies on Excelsior.
What are some of your plans, if you're at liberty to say?
Yeah, anytime you pick up a newspaper, or I guess an internet, we hear all too often about breweries that have been closing, and we don't want to hear that. Sometimes you hear about a brewery that's closed that you didn't even know that opened, and that's kind of embarrassing for me to admit that there were breweries that existed that didn't make it. Our coffee shop opened in November of 2022. So
okay, yeah. So I knew it was within the last handful of years. Yep.
Yep. And so we've been open just over 2 years. It's done really well. We don't want to say we're not going to say, because we aren't just another brewery with a coffee shop in it. Base Camp is wholly owned by Unmapped, but they are 100% independent on how it's run and operated, and they do just an amazing job. The quality of the coffee is great, and that goes from drip coffee to cold press to
flights.
Oh my gosh, the flights! Yeah, espresso
Flights.
drinks. The flights.
Tell me more about these coffee flights.
Yeah, so I think we do 2 or 3 like holiday flights, Valentine's, Christmas, Halloween. But then we also do espresso flights all the time, where you can just pick 4 different espresso drinks and get a flight of that.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Kind of going with the
now. I go to a lot of
vibe.
I go to a lot of coffee shops. I've never seen that. That's unique.
I hadn't either. Now that we're doing it, we've seen other social media influencers out there that have visited other places that have them. So it's not a new thing. We didn't invent it. We're trying to do as good a job as we can at it, but it is something that has existed. But it's been a fun thing for us. It's fun to see people come in and try them and give their feedback. You mentioned the rooftop. That's still something that we want to do someday.
Yeah.
We are completely able to do that. The reason why we didn't do it is because the cost of doing it just exploded that year. In fact, if we hadn't already probably signed on with the contractor for the coffee shop, we probably would have pulled the plug on that too. But now we're glad that we didn't. So
Yeah.
we want to, I guess, first and foremost, we want to continue to exist.
Yeah.
We're doing a great job. I think
Yeah.
the tap room is constantly busy. It's been a stalwart for us, constantly generating revenue. Distribution is growing. We had thanks to Harry, we had a great year of distribution growth last year. We want to continue that wave. We know that we've got more capacity in the back.
Yeah.
The more beer that we can make in the back, the bigger the margins get on distro, but also the bigger the margins get in the tap room. And we're not losing tap room customers. So even if we maintain the same amount of customers in the tap room, the cost to produce the beer that they're buying is going to go down, which is going to help us continue to succeed. There are so many different things that are causing breweries to fail, and you can't really point your finger at one specific thing. I wish you could. Going back to what I said earlier, I wish I knew what the formula was.
Yeah.
We don't. So we just need to make sure that we keep focusing on the things that we're good at and continue being good at that and trying not to be everything for everybody, and just making sure that everybody that comes in here gets treated well and has the best possible experience that they can have while they're here. That's the things that are in our control, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you have done throughout the years here at Unmapped, you provide such a much-needed third space for people, whether it's somebody like me who teaches in the community, has taught in the community for many years. It's nice to come gather at a spot with coworkers and then, run into people that there's one family really always sticks out. It's like the Griffiths. So I had Tommy Griffith back in the day. They're always here with their dogs. They're regulars, and we'll say hi, and it's just kind of nice to quasi feel like a part of the community, even though I live over in St. Paul. But just the vibe here is always welcoming. It's always inclusive, and I think that's incredibly important.
Always is never going to change.
And that's one of the things. Like, I don't go to places where I don't feel welcome, and I don't want to do podcasts with people that make me not feel welcome. And I think this is a great, wonderful spot. I'm happy that you are an owner, and Harry, you do a great job representing the brand, selling the brand. I love that I see it on liquor store shelves. Any excuse to come here, I just enjoy. Craft beer is special to me for a lot of reasons. I love the beverage. I love the creativity. I love the diversity of both, things on tap and people that I've met in the industry. But if I boil it down to one thing, the reason I love doing this podcast is meeting people. It's the people behind the beer. I've been lucky in it, as I'm sure you both could attest, that in the industry there's this little saying that craft beer is 99% asshole free. And I believe that. And, we're recording this on Tuesday, April 8th, and the Minnesota craft beer industry lost a big part of it.
Huge.
Tom Berg from Falling Knife unfortunately passed away over the weekend. And I know that just going on social media and texting back and forth with a lot of my friends in the industry, there's a void. I thought it would kind of be nice to just talk about Tom. If you've got a story about Tom, I know that my interactions with Tom were always so positive and always so encouraging. I always love getting a big bear hug from him, and I'm going to miss that. And I think that one of the things that is oftentimes overlooked is that there's really good people and good passion behind all this stuff. But how well did you know Tom?
I wish I could say I knew him better, but I love Tom.
Yeah.
one of my favorite stories about Tom, 2023, was the first time I ever went out to hop selection.
Oh, sure.
I had never been out there before. Jade and I went out there in September of 23, and we had upgraded our tickets to, those front seats on Sun Country where you get a free beer with the ticket and more legroom. And lo and behold, Tom Berg was in the row right next to us. So on the morning out, I got to emphasize it was morning. We were drinking Sweet Child of Vines. Tom made it known that he's not a very comfortable flyer. I mean, I think that's not uncommon. Something about being 30,000 feet up with nothing below you. We had a few beers, a lot of laughs. We had a great time, and believe it or not, the same exact thing happened on the flight home. He was literally right across the aisle from us. And again, we had an amazing conversation. A lot of people know that he was also part of Northland Mechanical, and they are the people that do all of our mechanical needs here. I tried not to use my friendship with Tom as to our advantage. I didn't tell him that our cooler was down. I reached out directly to Northland to tell him, hey, I got a problem with my cooler. Need somebody to come out. And he found out about that, and then also found out that it had been fixed. And he reached out later, and this was March 18th. This was 3 weeks ago. And he's like, hey, just wanted to check and see how the cooler's going. It sounds like they got it fixed for you. Just want to make sure it was running well. And I was like, hey, man, thanks for reaching out. Appreciate that. I love that you did that. It is. Bob came out, took care of it. We're in a good spot now. And I said to him, hey, I apologize I didn't reach out sooner, but I remember a Facebook post that you did 3 or 4 months ago saying you were going to take a break. You're like, I need a break. I'm going to take a break. And I said, hey, I admire you for that. How's it going?
Yeah.
And he wrote back, he's like, it's good. It's good. I was in a relationship that I, shouldn't have been in, and it was not healthy mentally or physically, but I'm in a much better spot now. And I was like, okay, great. I'm glad. Again, thank you for reaching out. He connected. We were talking about a friend of his that is a bartender. A lot of people that may be listening right now probably know Mama Meg's. I went out to Red Cow in Wayzata and had a no trace at the bar with her, and we talked about Tom, and she's like, Tom's one of my besties. Great guy. 2 weeks later, he's gone.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew him better, because the more I got to know him, the more I liked him. And last night I spent a lot of time on social media looking, not only social media, but just the internet and all of the different places. Bring Me News,
right.
Star Tribune. Everybody is telling the same story about Tom, which is how amazing of a person that he was. We bought a Wild Goose used machine, 5-head, that Falling Knife owns, and he's like, come on over, we'll show you how we use it. And we spent the afternoon with him, and he was talking to us about distribution, and just an amazing person. All he wanted to do was help make you better, listen to you. When I told him about Mama Meg's, he's like, it's just great how good people meet good people. And I tell you, both you and Harry today at this podcast have done nothing but tell me how good I am. And I can make the best beer on the planet, but nothing is going to make me sleep better at night than knowing people that I respect tell me that they think I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He told all of us how good we were at what we did. And God damn it, we're going to miss that guy.
Yeah.
Let's have a beer.
Let's do it. Now we're drinking. We're gonna drink some cans of Tom's Lager.
This might be something that's never happened in our brewery, because Jason would never let us open another brewery's beer in the tap room. But we're open.
He recently told me he doesn't listen to podcasts. We might be safe.
Cool.
Do you guys want me to pour for you, or do you want to pour your own? Or?
Yeah, pour. Yeah.
You know what, Harry? Why don't you talk and I'll pour?
Yeah,
sure. I ran into Tom mainly at either conferences, one festival, and then he's been out here at least once. I met him out here. We did a collaboration with him a while ago, but good, awesome handshake, and just when you see him, you're like excited to see him.
Yeah.
I think I've heard more good stories that he was a part of.
Yeah.
And I think when you hear about somebody in a great way from so many people, that is going to be something that is missed. So
Yeah.
it'll, I think this is gonna be something that people make an effort to have another story about him for a long time to come.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's really a credit to somebody when other people, kind of like Derek said, other people you respect in an industry, when you ask, one of the questions I always ask people is like, kind of who was a mentor to you? Who helped you get started? Who helped you like troubleshoot? And so many times, brewers, owners mention Tom. For all the reasons that you said, Derek, he cares genuinely. It's not just lip service, but he wants everybody to do well. I remember a conversation that I had with him. It was actually at Modest, and it was kind of shortly after CBC was here, and I had written a piece on, places that out-of-towners could go within like 15 minutes of the convention center to try a beer, and I'd gotten some blowback from a brewery who was like, well, they didn't necessarily like what I had to say about their brewery. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that you didn't like that. I was, speaking about my experience, and don't forget that I mentioned you as a place that people should check out. And he's, I'm not a brewer. I'm very much on the outside looking in, but he was like, I appreciate what you do, and I don't think you need to worry about that. I think you just keep doing what you're doing. And that was really encouraging. And at the time, I kind of felt a little beat up, and, it's like you try to do something good. My whole thing is trying to promote the industry. And, as the entire country's craft beer world descended upon the Twin Cities, I was trying to give some shout outs to places that I thought people should see. And just the way he was encouraging, and, I was kind of flattered that he knew about what I was doing. And, that was really important to hear for me. But I know, talking to Matt Holton at Wandering Leaf, Tom was super helpful getting them off the ground. Just so many different stories. Eric from Insight, one of the founders, great things to say about Tom. And I just think it's so wonderful that he was able to positively connect with so many people. So let's do a toast to Tom as we drink the Tom's Lager here. This one's for you, buddy.
Tom. You will be missed.
You will be missed, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, that is refreshing.
It's a very good beer.
It's a very good beer. Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the close of another On Location episode of A One Pint Stand. Derek, Harry, I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing those stories. I think it's really important. I know that the local industry is really hurting right now, and I think it's always great to hear some stories. It can be cathartic. Grief is difficult, and everybody processes it in a different way, but I think one thing is true, that it never hurts to hear some positive stories about somebody that we're all missing. So I want to thank you both for the conversation today, taking time. I know as an owner, you've got now numerous things going on, and it's really awesome. And congrats again on your new position here at Unmapped. I'm so excited and happy for you. You are, you work your butt off. I know that, and seeing you in this position is really exciting. So
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I was given a good base, and I'm surrounded by amazing people.
Yeah. So thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, always great.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, this has been another on-location episode from Unmapped Brewing in Minnetonka, Minnesota. Cheers.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed my beer chat with Derek and Harry from Unmapped Brewing. I said it in the interview, but Derek and Harry are really humble and kind industry professionals who have really helped Unmapped Brewing become what it is. With Derek in the position of ownership, things will continue to thrive at Unmapped Brewing. What Unmapped means to their local community cannot be quantified. One of the many things I love about Unmapped is how much good they do for their community. In fact, as we were recording, the Hopkins lacrosse team was having a fundraiser. I even saw a few of my students pop in, and they did a massive double take when they saw their academic research and writing teacher with a headset and a microphone drinking beer with people. I love going to Unmapped Brewing, and if for some odd reason you haven't been there yet, please put it on your list. Whether you're popping wheelies on Excelsior or stopping in for a coffee, the hospitality and craft beer experience at Unmapped Brewing is top-notch. Also, for my fellow teachers, they have a teacher appreciation happy hour every Wednesday where you get some great prices on beer. So get your staff together and enjoy some fun decompression time with your favorite coworkers. You might even spot some folks from Hopkins High School there. It was also much needed and cathartic to toast to Tom Berg, a craft beer legend who left us way too soon. Now, I want to give a special thank you to Marcus Dodson, Chuck Dorsey, Vicky Epper, Daniel Fisher, Todd Fitzloff, Laura Fleischfresser, Matt Holton, Cable Lefto, Ben Michaels, Sophia Masagi, Brent Newman, Bree Smith, Jesse Storms, Sarah Cry-Valento, and Brian Wu for being Kegstander level supporters of the A One Pint Stand Patreon. You've all shown incredible generosity, and I'm grateful for it. Cheers to you all. Before we sign off, I want to give a big thanks to our sponsor, Lupulin Brewing Company, where top-tier ingredients meet expert craft to create seriously good beer. Find them at your favorite craft beer spots or swing by their taproom in Big Lake. You can find them online at lupulinbrewing.com and follow Lupulin Brewing on social for all the latest pours and happenings. With that, we're at the end of another episode of A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers.
Unmapped, yeah. Well, if you haven't been here, it's probably because you couldn't find us. No, obviously. Yes, you can Google us. You can find us on the map.
I like that.
Didn't.